Hello, powerful people. Hello, hello. Welcome to the Conversations with Experts, the show that allows you to meet, hear from, and connect with people who have interesting expertise in different areas of life. The intention of this show is to help you be your best self and create your best life. Grow your wealth, live on your terms. I'm Millen, Livis, the host of the show and financial independence mentor. Are you a busy entrepreneur who wants to achieve financial independence? So you work because you want to, not because you have to? Then you are in the right place. If you want your money experiences to be different, do something different than you used to do in the past. If you don't want to worry about money when you are in your 60s or 70s, start planning your way to financial independence now. First, download the Wealth Planner for free. Here I will give you the link to it. All right. And work your way through it right away. And if you want real-time support, join my free Facebook group, Wealth Building for Powerful Women. You see the link on the screen as well. All right. So let's start. Let's move on to what we're going to talk about today, which is why your stories matter and why you shouldn't hide from your stories. And my beautiful guest today is Krista Giannak. Krista, welcome.
Hi, thanks for having me. Can you see me okay?
I can see you okay. And thank you so much for being with me today. I'm very excited because you're a very special lady. I just want really briefly say that we met at one of the networking events and you were so charming that I said, I have to invite this lady to be my guest on this show. That's how we met.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that. You have a remarkable story too. You have quite a few stories.
Thank you. So let me just briefly formally introduce you a little bit so people will know you what you're about and what you do and how you serve other people. So Krista Giannak, I hope I pronounce your last name correctly.
Giannak,
okay. Giannak is a writer, PR professional, and story consultant. Growing up, Krista always had a story ready. Now she is passionate about uncovering untold mission moments that share the true impact of a company or organization on real people. Krista helped her PR clients with media coverage anywhere from the local newspapers to television stations, etc. And to inspire audience, she also shares her own story, the courage of a blind skier. Again, welcome. Very happy to have you with me today.
Thanks so much.
So, Krista, you told me that you encourage others not to hide from their stories. Tell me more about that.
Sure. I haven't always told my personal stories, which is ironic because I help my clients, because I'm a writer, I help my clients to uncover their stories. And my personal stories, I kind of put them aside for a long time. And so I now, because I've gone through a process with mentors and friends, and I've also faced some fears and overcome some challenges that people find inspiring, I now feel empowered to tell my story, starting from when I was a scared kid and progressing on to as I became a networker, a business owner, and a skier who happens to be blind.
Unbelievable. So I'm sure that when you live with blindness in a sighted world, you have to have a lot of support and you also have to be creative. So tell me how you were supported on your life journey and what kind of creativity you needed to deep into in order to have a beautiful and productive and joyful life?
Sure. To start with, any blind person relies on innovation, creativity, people thinking outside of the box. So you all use a computer and you can see it on the monitor. Whereas blind people, we rely on either enlarged text and graphics, or in my case, software that reads the screen out loud or outputs it to a braille display. So some awesome programmers had to be creative and think about, how can we use technology in a new way? How can we use the code on the web in a new way? How can we make sure that all the buttons are labeled so the software will know what the heck they mean? All these different ways to innovate. And in my journey, innovation is throughout. People had to show me how to do things by touch, which was considered innovative because people do things by sight for the most part. There are special techniques that I had to learn, even for things like cutting food or cooking. Not that I'm a good cook, but there are plenty of blind people who are. So, and then as I went on as well, I had to be creative in finding work for myself. I networked with people. That's how I got the positions that I held in PR and in nonprofits and with local newspapers. And yet at some point, they dried up. The economy wasn't so great. And I had to find a way, because my phone wasn't ringing, I had to make it ring. I had to be creative. I had to go out there and network, even though I was afraid that people would just see my cane first and not me as a person. My message here today is about, when you feel like something is impossible, you want to find someone who's already done it, because you never know. You might be able to actually find that person who's done what you feel is the impossible. In my case, I didn't know what it was going to be like for me to network and make an impression on these folks. I had to find people who were already networking. I had to find people who were already doing martial arts. That was something else I got into. I had to find, when my martial arts instructor, who's also blind, by the way, introduced me to skiing, I kind of was like, really? Is this really a thing? Do blind people actually ski? And yet he said, yes, there are creative ways of teaching blind people to ski and helping blind people to ski. So that's where I had to have some, I don't want to say trust, because I didn't trust yet. I had to have some open-mindedness to actually call them up and say, I'm really curious. How do you do this? They told me about how they have a ski instructor and ski guides who clear the path for the blind skier and who make sure everyone wears colorful coverings that say blind skier or visually impaired skier or ski guide, so that everyone on the slopes knows who they are. We work a lot of sensual experiences, like even just something like standing there and feeling under our feet where the fall line is. And we traverse the slope. We don't just zoom, go right down the slope. And I didn't know that. I didn't really think about it because I didn't have any conception. I just knew that people had loads of fun skiing and they were free floating up there. So I had to have those experiences first before I could ever ski. I had to stand on that hill and feel where the fall line was and understand how to go across. I had to learn how to glide across across the slope, how to stand, how to position myself. There was a lot of hands-on physical work that went into it, just as there was a lot of hands-on mental learning that went into me learning other types of techniques. In one sense, it's no different than people who are sighted. We all have to learn things. It's just that I'm learning in a different way and experiencing things Without the sight, I'm focused on all of the other senses.
Krista, you touched on so many very important points. Many people feel that they can do it alone, that they're strong enough, that they can figure that out. And your experience from the very beginning, your approach actually was, I have to find someone who has done what I want to do, and follow these people, learn from these people. This is a huge lesson for many, many people. I know that you shared your story about learning how to ski, doing martial arts, but this lesson applies to every aspect of our life. If you want to really feel complete and whole, regardless of what challenges you may be going through or gone through, there is always a way. If there is a will, there is a way. And you are such a bright example of being basically unlimited and unstoppable. And I love this about you. And that's why I wanted you to be on this show today, because you are modeling to other people how they can overcome any challenges. You have a challenge, you have to find a solution, right? And if you cannot go through the door, find the window. If you cannot go through the window, find the other way. There is always a way when there is a will. And thank you for sharing such a beautiful story about you learning how to not only do martial arts, but also ski, and finding people who support you on your journey and overcoming these challenges. And I'm sure that many people who watch us now or listening to us will be inspired by what you shared. And becoming a PR agent, like why PR agent? Like what kind of interest you have, and what kind of skills you felt, that natural skills you had that brought you to being a PR agent for people?
My passion is mainly writing, because ever since I was a kid, I've always had that story in my head, and I want to help others to share stories, especially when they're innovative, newsworthy, all of that. My passion isn't so much for PR itself as it is for the businesses and thought leaders and nonprofits in my life who have important messages that they want to share. Actually, my experience is often that with business owners, especially, mostly business owners who are selling products or very specific services, where they get so excited about their products and selling their products that they often forget about all of the knowledge that they have to share with the communities that they serve. They often forget about the messages, the stories of how they got there. And I like to share some of that about myself and how I got to where I am, how I had to think outside the box as far as networking. When the phone wasn't ringing, I have to make it ring. When I wasn't earning money, I had to go out there and say, oh, let me see if I can get some projects and bring in some money, rather than sitting and waiting for things to happen. That's
Awesome.
Yeah, that's what my clients are doing too. They're not sitting and waiting for publicity to come to them. They're coming to me to see how can we share, especially with thought leaders and speakers and people who are brimming with that knowledge, that thirst for knowledge and that thirst to share. They love to share knowledge, and they're not always sure how. So that's where blogs and e-courses come in, versus the PR side, the story side. A lot of those people are bursting with a product or service, or just the fact that they wrote a book, and they may not be in touch with, do we have a newsworthy story? And if we do, newsworthy to whom? Which is really important to think about whenever we're sharing stories, really feeling and thinking about who's going to be listening to this story, who's going to be watching, reading, and how is it that they come to care about what we do? It's not because we have a product, unless they're already looking for our product. It's because we're offering them a solution, a path, a way forward. And in the case of journalists, it's because we're offering them something that entices their readers.
Beautiful. So I'm just curious. You mentioned something that when your phone wasn't ringing,
Right.
that you had to find the way to make it ring. So can you give me specific actions that you took at that time so it started ringing again for you?
Sure. I went out there, I found groups. So I started with the public relations professionals of Long Island, and I started with some job seekers groups because I figured, okay, I had done PR for a nonprofit for a couple of years. That counts for something. I kind of fell into that PR world in the sense of I knew I wanted to write. I knew I wanted to help people share. And that was because I knew someone who knew someone, and that was helpful. And so that was already a path that had worked for me versus just submitting cold resumes. That worked for me for an internship. And yet I knew that if I'm going to submit cold resumes, I've got to be doing something else, not only to build my skills and make myself look better, also to build my own confidence and my own self-worth. Looking for positions is not exactly a confidence building activity, because a lot of times you're applying to positions that you don't have every single skill they're looking for. And especially I was getting responses back sometimes that said, oh, we need graphic design. Well, I can't graphic design. I can't see a thing. That's not going to work. Or we need lots of HTML skills. So it's taking those negatives, those rejections, and saying, well, what can I do that I won't be rejected for, that I can find some people who will value these skills, who will accept them. And I knew the only way I was going to find these types of opportunities. I did some online work where I built my portfolio, but that work where you don't even talk to the people doesn't pay very much, yet it helped to build my confidence. So then I was able to go out there and network, and I knew the cane was there, but I just pushed forward because I knew that I had to. I didn't see another alternative for me. If I didn't push forward, I was going to be stuck where I was unless a really lucky break came along. So I didn't want to wait for that lucky break because I was in a pretty low place. And I figured, well, I can only go up from here. I don't want to live the way I'm living now anymore.
Oh my God, I just, I'm listening to you and feel so inspired by your perseverance. If anyone deserves to be referred as unstoppable and unlimited, it's you. I really very, very feel that you just amazing at with the courage, with the clarity that you have.
Thank you. I do feel like the key, though, isn't so much that I'm always unstoppable. It's that if I'm stopped, then I try to find another way forward, something else to do. I try to find something that I can put momentum into so that when I am stopped, at least I can shift my focus to something that I can start or something that I can continue, and something, creating a path forward for myself, or at the very least, speaking to people who've created paths and seeing what can I do that they're doing.
Krista, thank you for clarifying this. And I just want to say unstoppable doesn't mean we don't get stopped. Life throws curveballs to most people, right? We all have some kind of challenges, and maybe the challenge that you experience in your life is potentially bigger than most. But it's not about not being stopped. It's about finding how to start again. That's what I call unstoppable, because most people get some kind of obstacles in life, and they have to find a way to get through them, over them, jump around, whatever. So that's why I personally still stay with my perception of you. You are unstoppable in my mind because you were stopped by circumstances that could probably just discourage most people, and yet you found a way to start. And, it just really fascinating. Your spirit, your attitude, your values, they just shine through so brightly.
A big part of that too, real fast, is that I had to believe that I was worth the effort. And when I didn't believe that, I knew I had to find things that made me believe. Because otherwise, I wouldn't have had the strength to push forward, because I would have just said, oh, this is all a waste of time. I can just sit here and be a failure.
I couldn't have said it better. You have to believe that you're worth the effort. And I'm so glad that
sometimes also that there's no other way forward, if that makes sense. That there has to be another, that if this is the path that I'm seeing, even if it's going to be difficult, but there's no other way and I'm going to be stuck, most likely, if I stick around, then that's also a motivation to go forward. Sometimes you come to those moments in life where you just say, there's no other way forward. This isn't my favorite path, and yet it's the one that has the best chance of getting me somewhere.
I can so resonate with everything you said. I don't want to jump into my story because today I want to hear it from you, but it resonates with me on a very, very deep level. And I have a couple of questions that I want to ask you, so our followers and listeners will learn from you. So could you please tell us how people, entrepreneurs, maybe writers, authors, how they can incorporate the power of their story?
Sure. When you think about your story, it's what makes you different from all the other people that you're competing with. It's what makes you, it humanizes you, it connects you with your audience. So when you're thinking about your own story, a lot of people think their stories are boring because maybe they fell into a position, or maybe they didn't know what they were going to be doing when they were a kid. So it's not like they can tell this dream story. And yet there's usually something in their lives, both personal and business, that led them to some aspect of what they're doing now. So if they want to help people, for example, that's sort of a generic way of saying that a lot of people use to say, well, I want to help people. Well, what is your special brand of help? There are lots of ways that people help people, lots of ways that people empower others. Everyone has their little special brand of help. Mine happens to be asking those deeper questions. I love to have deep discussions. That's what lights me up in general. And I use that to my advantage because I like to ask the deeper questions and help people to uncover the heart of what they're trying to say. I help people to summarize a lot of details and a lot of narrative and kind of day in the life. And, well, I do this and I do that and I do this and I do that. And I take that and synthesize it and put it together to say, well, this is the heart of what you do. This is why it's important. Not that I'm judging why it's important, but I'm helping them get to that place. And we're assessing along the way, what do your audiences, what are the people in your audience thinking about right now? What are they struggling with? What keeps them up at night? Or what is preventing them from being where they want to be? And how are you helping with that? What kind of knowledge do you have that could solve just a teensy bit of their problem right now? Or what do you do that provides a longer term solution that they might hire you for? And these are all paths forward to building their trust in you and helping them to see that you are the right person. You're the right entrepreneur. You're the right thought leader, expert, business owner. you have the right product for them without directly having to pitch them and potentially turn them off.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you for answering this question. And one more question, if I may.
Uh-huh.
Do you have any final advice that you could offer to someone who might be struggling to move to the next step, next phase on their journey in their life, like really going through some challenging time, or maybe going through confusing time, or maybe just stuck altogether, feel stuck?
For me, it's been about finding those small steps that I can take in the moment. And those small steps ultimately add up. They become big steps. Sometimes a small step can be as simple as reaching out to a friend or a mentor for help, or even finding people in the industry. Well, what do you have to lose? I've done that too sometimes, where I've just plain called people or reached out by email because, well, I don't know this person, but I have nothing to lose, because the worst they can do is say, no, I don't want to help you. And it gave me some hope that somebody out there had an answer. I would say that when there are no answers in your heart or my heart, that there are probably answers in someone else's.
Beautiful. I like to recall the phrase from one of my mentors, Dr. Joe Dispenza, who says, "Brain thinks, but heart knows."
I like that.
Yeah. Krista, thank you so much. Thank you for your time. Thank you for being so real and so raw and so authentic. I really, really deeply appreciate that. And I know that many people would want to connect with you, reach out to you, maybe work with you. So, and I also know that you have weekly inspirational Facebook Live. So can you tell us a little bit about that? And I will share the link on the screen.
Sure. It's Wise Words That Matter. That's the name of my business. That's my website. And it's also my Facebook Live. What I do is every week, 3 p.m. Eastern on Wednesdays, I share a dose of inspiration, creativity, publicity advice or marketing advice, something that will help you move in the direction of getting noticed now. Because my background of writing and doing PR and just my love of learning and knowledge brings a different perspective, as well as my blindness, my personal stories. I like to work those in. And the Facebook Live is a great way for me as well. And this is something that people might also find interesting, that facing my fear of video was also a big fear for me. And yet Facebook Live was a great platform because it, at one point it was offering lots of exposure, even to beginning broadcasters. So I didn't want to lose out on the exposure. So I found ways forward to do that as well. And so the Facebook Live allows me to showcase my ability to share knowledge, because I also put on workshops, inspirational workshops, professional workshops for local organizations. And now, of course, with the virtual world, I'm branching out from there as well. So that's Wise Words That Matter on Facebook, or wisewords.matter.com is how you reach me for writing, PR, inspiration, more.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing everything that you shared today. It's inspirational. It's empowering. It's you are a model for so many people who really want to live the life that they love, regardless of their challenges, regardless of their maybe current difficult situations and obstacles. Thank you so much, Krista. And thank you everyone who is watching us today for taking your time to watch this interview, to hear the wisdom from this beautiful young lady who is really just unlimited, unstoppable goddess. Thank you so much. And I will see you all next week for the new episode of the Conversations with Experts on Wednesday, 10 o'clock Eastern on Dare to Change Live Facebook page. Thank you again. Have a beautiful, beautiful day. Bye now.
Thanks. Thanks, Millen.
Thank you, Krista. Grow your wealth. Live on your terms.